finally he's delivered. He's long gone anyway, so it won't be...
Still probably blame Gordon Brown anyway. They always blame Gordon Brown for everything.
Or if it sucks you into the vortex of overspending throughout all of your years in office.
But these things happen too slowly. The thing about massive infrastructure projects is they grind on bit by bit by bit, and there's no great political moment to point at to say, aha, you're wrong. It's not really a gamble. The other thing is, this was a mess of his own making, remember. Go back 3 or 4 months. HS2, the review of it began because Boris Johnson popped his hand up in the autumn to say, well, look, this project, which was going ahead, fine, it's got its detractors, but it was going ahead and no one was going to stop it. He was the one that said, hold on a minute, I want to satisfy myself we're spending all the right money in the right directions. And then he called a general election. Now, the two, I would argue, were intrinsically linked. He needed to review the project to try and buy off some of those very sceptical voters who weren't going to vote for him necessarily. HS2 was full steam ahead. So it is this pause, which a cabinet minister described to me the other day as the new Brexit, because it divided the Tory party in two all over again. Two different, terrible factions feuding over which you go head and all. So he's filling in his own hole. He's filling in the mess he has made.
Let me move on to the FT quickly while you hold your thought. So the Financial Times, Johnson promises a revolution in transport with the go-ahead for HS2. He talked about connectivity of east-west in the north, didn't he, and bus routes as well. And let's move on to the inside page of the Times, simply because I do like a graphic. It does it quite well, and you can sort of see the route as well. Do continue.
Well, I suppose I would slightly have issue with what Tom said. I think this is his... I know who knew. Agreeable disagreement. I do think that gamble is the right word, because he has made this very much his project now. It's part of his kind of first 100 days of being Prime Minister. We're green-lighting this, and if it does go wrong, he is going to be the Prime Minister who will be associated with it. And it isn't just Labour people who are criticising him and, the usual suspects. Somebody even like Michael Fabricant, who is, true blue, is saying, actually, if you look at the plans, this could have been done in a way which is better. So I do think, and also Boris Johnson from his
better
time...
is in a different route, sorry.
Well, he was saying you could be using different... There are already existing lines that could be better used. He was just saying, actually, the whole project could, if you take a step back, it could actually be better managed. And I do think one of the things from Boris Johnson when he was Mayor of London, he did start quite a lot of infrastructure projects, and they never quite happened. There was Boris Island. There was like the Garden Bridge. I know he's trying to build a bridge from Scotland to Northern Ireland, maybe a zip wire or something like that, which, by the way, Jeremy Corbyn nicked my joke from Twitter on that. But I just think he's not...
There's a claim.
But let's be honest, right? Boris Johnson is quite good at the, bombastic rhetoric. He's not actually got an amazing track record in delivering this stuff. This is really difficult stuff. You have to watch it like a hawk.
When he was London Mayor, he didn't have control of the coffers. He was always trying to come up with great ideas, and there was someone called George Osborne who rather wanted to be Prime Minister instead of him, wouldn't give him the money. So I think now he's got... I like a Prime Minister. I've got my problems with Boris Johnson, but I do like a Prime Minister who's got some vision, who does want to change the country.
Let's Trump wants to build a wall.
Exactly.
It's not a very constructive project, then. There's a slight difference between connecting people up in the country and locking them out.
Also, enthusiasm and rhetoric does not make for execution.
I agree.
You have to actually...
I agree, but it can get you an awful long way.
Well, words can get you, empty promises can get you a long way. The proof is going to be in how this gets delivered. And if this becomes like a huge great white elephant, this will be an albatross round his neck.
No, it's not, because he'll be in Washington, D.C. giving speeches for 200 grand by that stage.
Oh, yeah, one rule for...
Can we just very quickly point out the excellent comparison in the Times, the speed and frequency compared column. They've gone through...
That? It's the third one down, isn't it?
Is that
how much time will passengers save, Colin?
Exactly.
Is that the bit you want
to spare all our suffering, I say. So they go through all different European countries. Paris to Lyon, their train goes 186 miles an hour. Frankfurt to Cologne in Germany, 186 miles an hour again. Zaragoza to Barcelona in Spain, it goes on. All these countries, they've already got high-speed rail, and an awful lot of it.
Quite a lot of it is nationalised, though. Quite a lot of it is nationalised, which
our fastest train goes from London to Kent, and it goes to somewhere 140 miles an hour.
It does, but on that...
One of the last major countries in the world to get...
But one really important part of all of this is that Ebbsfleet thing is a very good example. It's very, very fast from King's Cross and Pancras to Ebbsfleet. but it's expensive. And another question that is legitimately being raised is, yes, we could produce this very, very good railway.
Who can afford to travel?
Exactly. Is the cost going to
very-
price people out? And also, don't forget, the north is very important, but there are other parts of the country, like the southwest of England, not just the southwest of London, with Tom Lewis.
Oh, don't get me on to it's a good point. The Northern Line.
I know, but the south,
You have
viewers
to
in the
wait
southwest
5
of England.
different trains to pass to get on the Northern Line in South London in the morning, like I have to do every sweaty, miserable morning. Point made.
So you're just sweaty. But the other point is buses. It's not just trains.
Okay.
There's a big important announcement about buses. More people use buses than trains, so that is also very
Should we
important.
move on?
Don't get
Before we
me
do the
started
whole
about an
route
overnight.
timetable. To the Daily Telegraph then, the licence fee. This will be another rumbling sore, some might say, in terms of debate about the BBC pitted against the Conservative government. What to do?
So the BBC Chairman Governors, Sir David Clementi, is making his fight back tomorrow against the government's tentative suggestion that the BBC might want to think of other ways of paying for itself rather than charging a nationwide tax on everyone who wants to watch it of £157.50 a year. And he's written for the Telegraph, and I think he's taking a speech tomorrow as well, where he comes up with some pretty bone-chilling, blood-curdling claims, such as, if there's no more licence fee, wait for this, it's something quite special, the Olympics will become pay-per-view. Royal weddings will become pay-per-view. It is utter rot. Not least because the government, the government would step in and say, we pass a law to say this stuff can't be pay-per-view, it will have to be on terrestrial television. But this is the BBC's fight back.
Yeah, and channels like this do the royal wedding.
Well,
Here you go. So my argument on this, right, very, very briefly, is briefly until the break, anyway. The BBC, which I am a big fan of, I do a bit of work for it. I think it's a tremendous institution. I want to see it continue. It has to carry on keeping the faith of the nation, and it doesn't. People are losing faith with it.
But that's
They're fed up with it. They're fed up having to pay so much
because
money
of
for
the
it.
criticism, the unfair accusations against them, the accusations
It's
of
because
bias
people don't
against
watch it as
news
much
and
as they used
yes,
to.
no,
Well,
there's that
they're
too.
doing
there's a
Right?
couple of-
There
there's
is
a-
that too. But
why should we pay
the
for it?
undermining is happening in front of our noses
Look,
and
we
unnecessarily.
do need to be like, look, the BBC has got a lot going on at the moment, and it's got a lot of stuff that hasn't done right. Just look at, for me, the gender pay stuff is a huge thing. I think that's just a complete self-own. There is a lot of political attack, but in terms of the Olympics, we have seen a situation where the sporting events, which are known as the sort of crown jewels, they are falling off that list. There was once a time where you thought
Royal wedding.
I know, but you talk about the Olympics. There was a time once, where you thought all football would be free to air. That is not the case, as we know. But on a serious note, one of the things is that this government, you're right, Dominic Cummings, Boris Johnson want to go to war with the BBC. It's a very important part of their broader culture war, and they're obsessed about Netflix. They think that Netflix is the same as the BBC. It's not. And one really important thing to note is that Netflix doesn't actually fund programming from its subscription. Its model runs on debt. Currently, it's $12 billion in debt. So we don't know if this is a sustainable business model. And also, something like Netflix is not paid, and it's not set up to provide regional news,
It doesn't have to be
all
Netflix.
that kind of
The
thing.
BBC
But they're obsessed with Netflix. Like
The
Baroness
BBC
Morgan has been going on about
There
Netflix.
is no
That's their
doubt
go-to
the BBC
thing.
can be more commercial. It can make programs more for sale abroad. It can do a better job of marketing themselves. The idea that it has to be funded by a public they will alienate people.
No, but
and they will
look,
destroy
I
themselves
agree
unless they
that the
change.
BBC has got a lot that it can improve on, but at your peril, do you weaken it? Because I'll tell you something, we will miss it when it is gone. We really, really will. It's something that's admired all around the world and very important to our democracy.
A bit like newspapers as well.
Absolutely.
To be
Buy a
fair.
newspaper, buy a newspaper.
There we go. Coming up, he was once the runaway favourite to take on Donald Trump, but is Joe Biden about to flame out, is that a word, in tonight's New Hampshire primary? The results, or the first... We're on. You're watching the... Well, welcome back. We're on. You're watching the press preview. With me now, Aisha Hasrick and Tony Dunn. You were divvying up who's going to start first, so let's go straight to the Financial Times. The New Hampshire primary is underway. The first results in a few minutes' time. The question is, what will happen to the former Vice President? Joe Biden.
Joe Biden, who's been leading the race, or certainly for months and months and months, was the shoe-in Democratic nominee, flopped badly in Iowa. Pete Buttigieg, Mayor Pete. Did I get that right? We've been practicing that all on the break. Topped that by surprise. Looks like Bernie Sanders is going to win in New Hampshire. If, and I suggest Joe Biden probably won't finish in the top two, it looks like he really is finished. There may well be no comeback at all.
He was relying on the African-American vote, obviously standing alongside Obama, very strong in that area, waiting for states like South Carolina. But actually, even there, he's fading, apparently.
He's just not capturing the mood. I mean, I think it's going to be Bernie Sanders that gets elected. And, you know, you're going to have an aging socialist going up against a big blonde populist. What could possibly go wrong? As we know from our experience here, from just our election at Christmas. But I mean, they are just spending so long. The only winner is Donald Trump, I'm afraid.
Okay, we will do more of that, obviously, a bit later on. Mother's virtual reunion with her dead child. Extraordinary story. Tell us more.
This is an absolutely incredible story, and any parent or even non-parent cannot help being amazingly moved by this. So a mother in South Korea lost her daughter, aged 7, from a rare blood condition, and some incredibly clever people, via AI and multifarious different clever tech reasons I don't understand, have created her daughter again in virtual reality, and she met her. She had a conversation with her, which is unbelievable, which she said she found very moving, an incredibly cathartic event, but has then started this debate about the morals of it. Is it the right thing to be doing to basically mucking with people's heads like this? Does it really help, or does it take her back into her grief? Absolutely extraordinary. One of the myriad of different bridges we're going to have to cross with AI and its extraordinary takeover of pretty much everything we're going to be doing soon.
Yep, tech again, decades future. Let's go on, though, in the meantime, to an election which is coming up in May, which is the London mayoral. One of the candidates, you might remember him, Rory Stewart, wants to go and live in people's houses.
It does. It's completely bizarre, and I love the headline, Kit Whittington. I do think that's brilliant. He's basically tweeted saying, "Oh, I want to sort of get to know like real Londoners, and I'll come and bring my sleeping bag and a box of chocolates and just sleep in your house." It's slightly weird, but this is part of his kind of shtick. He did this whole kind of walks with Rory, and I think it's gimmicky and it's kind of cute, but I don't think it's going to do much heavy lifting for him, because I think a lot of Londoners, I'm obviously from a London newspaper, you know, a lot of Londoners don't quite buy that Rory is kind of, you know, grit under the fingernails kind of Londoner.
One thing you can say about it, though, is getting him attention.
It does.
Okay.
He's very good at getting attention.
He is, isn't he? We will see you soon. Aisha and Tom, thank you.
Thank you.